facets. Each one takes in a little bit of light and a little bit of image, and nothing comes close to that.
Sikorsky, that invented the helicopter, it is said that he studied dragonflies and got his ideas for helicopters. Well, a dragonfly has two sets of wings, and the front set of wings, if he's flying forward, that will give him his lift, and the back set of wings gives him his propulsion, what pushes him. But they can fly backwards. And when a dragonfly flies backwards, now the back set of wings lifts and the front set of wings pushes. So he is absolutely reversing what the muscles do when he flies backwards, and he can do it in an instant. He can fly up, stop, and fly back.
But the dragonflies, they've got muscles that are attached to each wing, and they use both pairs of wings independently, and they can swerve and maneuver and get the best of anybody who's ever tried to collect them.
As far as I know, they're the only insect that when they turn, their whole body turns. So they're like, if they're flying straight, you look, their whole body's straight, their abdomen's straight. Now they're going to bank around a turn. That means that the upper wings or the outside wings, compared to the inside wings on the curve, they're doing two different things now. So he's working his wings in two different ways on the opposite sides of his body. And the wings themselves, why don't those little frail wings on a dragonfly just collapse? You can see right through them. They're like paper thin. God built little channels through those wings that might be 1/100th of an inch. They add all kinds of strength to it. They have cells that are thicker at the tips of the wings so that when it is flying, the wings don't flutter. That's a miracle. I don't know how else to explain that. I think our Lord is amazing.
Now, here's another enormous animal that spends a lot of time in the water. Its name actually means river horse, the hippopotamus.
They may look placid and clumsy, but on land, the African hippo can weigh up to 7,000 pounds and can run 30 miles an hour. But hippos prefer the water, where they walk gracefully across the bottom and linger to stay cool. Their skin is 1/2 inch thick and has a remarkable system to keep it moist and protected from the African sun.
Some people think a hippopotamus bleeds like sweat, is blood, it's red. But it has these glands in its skin that exude a pinkish, reddish fluid that when it's out of the water, it turns on these little glands, and that puts this pinkish, reddish fluid on its skin, which acts as a sun blocker and as an insect repellent.
The red oil that they secrete actually helps fight skin infections. So when the bulls are sparring for territory and tearing each other up, it'll help prevent skin infections since they're living in such murky, muggy water.
Where would that come from? I mean, how would that ability evolve? How many billions of years would it take for a hippopotamus to get those glands just right?
While it looks peaceful and serene, don't be fooled. When threatened, the African hippo is said to have killed more people than any other animal in Africa. The hippo's jaw has incredible crushing power, and its teeth can be as long as 18 inches.
One of the amazing things about hippos is their jaw. They have the largest mouth of any land animal. In fact, it's so large that they can crush canoes. Hippos have been known to open their jaws 180 degrees. It's almost all the way back. A lot of times when they're yawning or just showing off that they're the top hippo in the area.
Their ears, eyes, and nostrils sit on the top of their heads, uniquely designed so the hippo can almost totally submerge in water but keep a watchful eye on its surroundings.
Hippos can stay underwater for about 6 minutes, and how they do it is they hold more oxygen in their blood, similar to a whale or dolphin. They can also sleep for hours underwater. They just raise their head up, take a breath, go back under, don't even wake up. Just like you and I turning over in our sleep.
Hippos are wonderful parents, and the females actually give birth in the water to keep the baby from falling and dying. Their herds usually range in number from 10 to 20, and these herds play host to a number of other creatures.
There's certain types of little creatures that live in water that the only way they can be there is with the hippopotamus being in the water, and they put their excrement in the water, and these little creatures exist on that. There are some places in Africa where they have pools where the hippopotamus don't go there for some reason or other. And they're sterile. There's no life in those pools. And so all of these things are, in one way or another, dependent upon each other. In any event, these are just some more things that God has done. That there's so much that we could learn, so much more that we could learn about these things that God has made.
I'm gonna go into this cave where I hope to find some glowworms and fireflies. I have to turn on my light. Unlike me, these creatures make their own light.
That light is cold light. We don't have anything like that. Scientists have not been able to figure out how to do that. They use 100% of their energy in the light. Like an incandescent light bulb for us is about 4% light, the rest is heat. So we're wasting 96% of the energy. Yet you have a glowworm or a kookajou beetle, and the light is so bright that natives down there in South America will make little baskets and have these kookajous, and that's their flashlights, walking in the woods. The light is so bright. They have these two substances that they mix, luciferin and luciferase. Now luciferase, it's about 1,000 amino acids, and the scientists have not been able to duplicate that enzyme. But yet here is a little insect that's supposed to not know anything about anything and supposed to have evolved from who knows what, that has the ability to do something that we can't do. With all of our high-tech science, we can't do it.
But why do these creatures create light? What purpose does the light have? And why do they flash these lights in what appears to be planned sequences?
Scientists believe part of it has to do with finding their mate. Some of these little bugs have an exact sequence of flashing their lights, and they communicate with light. Another interesting thing, there's one group of these particular types of insects, and on a whole tree, every leaf will have one of these on, but they turn on, like the whole tree, bang! All the bugs turn on their lights at exactly the same moment. And the scientists don't have the foggiest idea how they communicate to send the signal, okay, turn on the lights, and they all turn on.
The light can be seen from a mile or more, just to light up areas along rivers in Southeast Asia and the like. A phenomenal event.
Our God he's amazing in the things that he has thought up. He started with nothing. I mean, we have all these things to work with. He started with absolutely nothing and thought all these things up, and they work. I mean, that takes incredible genius and wisdom and power. And that's our God, the God of the Bible.
Amazing little creatures. Did you know certain American Indians used to smear fireflies on their faces and chests as decorations? Scary. Just thought of something. I'm in a cave. It's wintertime. Don't bears hibernate in caves in the wintertime?
The bears of North America are large, powerful creatures. Grizzlies can weigh up to 860 pounds, and polar bears over 1,300 pounds and can run up to 30 miles per hour. But they also have an enormous appetite and spend most of their time foraging for food, building fat for hibernation. Here in hibernation, one of creation's unique miracles occur.
The mothers have their baby bears, and they nurse those baby bears for up to 5 months. They never drink a drop of water. Well, where's all that fluid come from to nurse a baby bear for 5 months, sometimes 7 months, when you're not drinking anything? What happens is, the bear is fat when he goes into hibernation. The fat in the bear breaks down. Each gram of fat gives off 1.5 grams of water. And that water goes back into the bear's system, and that's how the mother makes the milk that she feeds the baby. She also doesn't go to the bathroom. And so her extra fluid is recycled. The bear has little factories inside itself that turn that into the proteins that it needs to nourish its body as it's going ahead and feeding its baby. Well, the scientists don't even know how it does that.
Another mystery is how hibernating bears preserve their muscle strength. Bears lose only 20% of their strength during this 5 months of hibernation.
Now, if you put a human in a bed for 5 months, we lose 90% of our muscle strength. Our muscles just deteriorate. Even in a month, they just deteriorate. If a lion was to come after a bear right after he walked out of hibernation, he could fight that lion, and he is strong. So recently, they've done some experiments, and they hook some instruments up to a bear in hibernation, and they've discovered that bears go into violent chills, and they'll tense up their muscles, and now they think maybe it's like isometric exercises, that the bear keeps its strength all through the winter by tensing its muscles. And it's like God built that into the bear so that it could protect itself and take care of itself and protect its young right away as soon as it comes out of hibernation. I think that's fascinating. The God of the Bible He's thought of every single angle in every single way. He is unmatchable.
Wow, waking a bear with cubs, they can be a real bear. Oh, hey, look. Here's a creature that doesn't have any problem finding a meal because all they eat is dirt. To an earthworm, the whole world is just one giant smorgasbord. But actually, earthworms are a lot more incredible than you might think.
The common earthworm can consume 1/3 of their body weight in a single day. They have no eyes, but are sensitive to vibrations, and they come in all sizes.
Now there's an earthworm in Australia, 1 inch, a little more than an inch in diameter, and grows to be like 10 to 12 feet long. It looks like a snake. The average earthworm, after about a year, is probably 6 to 8 inches long. We used to catch them when I was a boy to use to go fishing. But if you try to grab them, they can go in reverse. So they can not only crawl forward, they can go in reverse and pull back into their hole. Well, that's marvelous. They basically turn over the earth, aerate the earth, and fertilize the earth. And you would say, well, how do they do that? Well, an earthworm literally spits on the dirt in front of it, and that softens it up. And if it can't push through, it'll just eat it. And its nose comes to just a point, a fine point. They'll stick it in the finest little crack, and then they want to start pushing into that crack to expand the dirt. So they have little organs inside themselves that push out. And they can literally push out 1.54 atmospheres, somebody measured. Then, in order to push in, they have little anchors. When they're crawling, those anchors might be hidden, tucked in little tucks. But when they want to move, they pop those out, and then in segments, they expand and contract here, and they can move ahead, pull them in, that way they can move.
When you actually tug on a worm, those hairs will come out and like anchor itself in the ground.
I read a couple places where some evolutionists are talking about earthworms, and these little anchors that they shoot out on their sides are like little tufts of hair. And so they say that the primordial earthworms were evolving along and they're losing their fur coat. Why would an earthworm need a fur coat in the first place? And secondly, where's the evidence for that? All they have are these little things that have a function. They pull them along. Why do we have to say they must have come from something that had a fur coat? Moles under the ground will eat these little earthworms, and many times the mole will bite off their head. Because once they bite off their head, they don't crawl, but they can stay alive. And so they'll stay alive down there, and then over the winter months, the mole will eat them, but some of them he doesn't get around to eating. And in time, it regenerates its head, and then it can just crawl away.
And they actually have the ability to squeeze off those muscles and give the tail instead of the whole thing, and then regenerate.
So what a marvelous little thing an earthworm is, that God made it so that you can chop it in 3 pieces and it can regenerate itself, even its head.
Here's an animal, the largest land animal on Earth. Elephants can get to be up to 11,000 pounds. And while they may be big, they certainly aren't dumb. Elephants are some of the smartest animals around. There are 2 types of elephants, some that come from Africa and the others from India. To tell them apart, all you have to do is check out their ears.